It's time to take your business to the next level, the boss level. These are the premier business owner strategies and successes being utilized by the industry's top talent today. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss. Now let's welcome your host, Ann Ganguza.
Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguza, and today I am excited to start another brand new series, Business Superpowers, with special guest Lau Lapides. Lau is founder and president of Lau Lapides Company, a boutique coaching, training, and production company for voice talent and actors headquartered in Boston with satellites in New York City, Miami, and LA. Her programs include hybrid online and in-person workshops, seminars, and one-on-one personalized coaching, as well as showcases in New York City, LA, and online. Lau's media and broadcasting career coaches all currently work in television, film, radio, and theater, and their voices can be heard around the world. Lau, it is so much fun to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe it. We finally met each other, got together. East meets West. Here we go.
I'm just so excited that you agreed to do this. And I'm so excited about our series, The Business Superpowers, because we've got a lot to talk about. So let's start with you so that our bosses can get to know you a little bit better. Let's talk a little bit about your history, how you got started, and how you became such a boss in this industry.
Wow. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it. I always feel like boss term in regards to me and personally has been like the overnight success. You know, when someone comes to you, Ann, and says, I want to have it overnight. I want to get that dream. Let's go. And I say, yeah, you can be an overnight success. Absolutely. A 40-year overnight success.
I was say my overnight success happened 12 years later. Sorry. Or at least you've got to start with that. Mm-hmm. It's true.
I always feel that way, that it really has been such a lifelong process, such an amazing journey. The path splits off in so many directions. It's hard to even think about what the origins really were. But I'll tell you, I was a dancer. Believe it or not, I was a dancer.
And I was an engineer. So, wow, that's pretty cool. There you go.
There you go. Same thing. In a lot of ways, right?
Well,
blocking, choreography.
Right. But you don't always think, well, you'd end up with your own company in voice acting and acting.
No. If someone were to tell me that I would do this 30, 40 years later, I would have laughed. I would have fell off my chair. I would not have believed it. So I started off as a dancer who really didn't speak at all. And then I went into an acting career. I had a whole acting career for a good 20 years, went through top-level graduate program at UC Irvine in California, and that really changed my life. Your neck of the woods.
East and West, there we go. So...
East and West. And so after having this extensive theater background, I did a lot of repertory, a lot of regional, a lot of stock, became an equity actor, yada, yada, so on and so forth. I ended up at grad school in California. That was really a turn for me. I started getting into a lot of media-driven entertainment, started doing more TV film, started my voiceover as a voiceover talent, as a performer, really mid to late 20s. It was kind of later for me. And then just kind of launched in that direction. And once I got my master's degree, I became a professor. I became a college and university professor. And one of my specialties was to create curriculum. So I made my way back to New York. I lived in New York, and I started creating curriculum all while I was acting and directing, because I had also become a director and producer.
I was going to say acting curriculum?
Acting curriculum, but it was interesting, and the twist is, and this is where the whole boss and business situation starts to enter my world, is I was approached by top business colleges, and this was really out of my realm, honestly. I'll be quite transparent with you. I knew nothing about that. I think I had business savvy, but I had the mind of a creative.
Sure, absolutely.
I was actor, voice talent, director, I was on the other side of it. And all of a sudden I got approached by Harvard. I got approached by Babson. I got approached by Bentley. These were all the top business colleges at that time, now universities. Boston University, saying all kind of like the similar theme. what is the problem and how can I fix it? So I knew right away they all had a problem or a need. And it was, we want programming for our business students that is creative and teaches them how to speak.
Yes.
Right?
Important. It's very important. To be able to speak and present. I know that for sure. We have so many parallels, you and I, because I was 20 years in education and started off as an engineer, and I was on the East Coast, and then started my voiceover career a little bit later. So I had what I consider the creative in the engineering aspect, in the technology aspect, and then in education, because I got so geeky and excited about it. I wanted to share it. So then I taught, and then it became all these passions and loves of mine. And then ultimately, I started a full-time voiceover career after that and moved west. So we have so many parallels. And you're absolutely right. The business aspect of things is so important in the creative. I think a lot of students that come to me, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, they feel stuck in their jobs and they need the creativity. And that's exactly like, what's that problem? Like, where's the creativity in your job and where is that outlet? And a lot of times people turn to the creative arts, which is fantastic that you had that left brain, right brain 50-50, which is something that I was always told I was very good at, that you could relate on both sides of the thing. And so, fantastic. So now, bring us up to date now. You're currently still on the East Coast.
Yes, I am. And skip 10 years, got an offer to open a studio. It was the right time. I got a brick and mortar. I was very excited about it. Always wanted to have a studio. Had been now teaching for a good decade, had been now directing. While I was still performing, I was acting and doing voiceover all the way through. There was something in me, Anne, that wanted to be a leader. And here's the interesting thing I wanted to bring out about being in business programs. I got an education by default. So I started to learn that I could be educated by the students I was teaching.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Right? So these were students from all over the world. They were undergrad, graduate, MBA, fast-track people, every country in the world. And I started to learn what I needed to know as a businesswoman to then open a studio. So when I was 40, I opened a studio, and I opened first an actor division. First, I opened an actor division, and then about 2 years later came my voiceover division.
Wow.
And this was in the first recession. One of the worst recessions we had in the country was the first 5 years of my business. And so I knew I was either going to sink or swim. This was it. And somehow we made it through. It started to explode. What I thought was a luxury-based business or a dream-based business really turned into a reality and something very pragmatic that people were looking for to solve that problem, to fill that need in them. You know, what do I do next in my life? Or how do I restart a career? Or how do I live my dream? And we were learning, we meaning myself, and then I hired a staff of like 6 to 8 really amazing coaches from all over the place to help me realize this team leadership, client-centered kind of philosophy that I had in my head after teaching for 10 years, all these amazing up-and-coming entrepreneurs. And so that was an amalgamation of all those years. I had no business model. I should have. I didn't. My business model was hardcore. It was like my dad always taught me. He was a great entrepreneur. And he said, put the key in the door, show up early, and just go to work.
Well, I was just going to say to you, you talk about, well, I just opened up a studio. Like, oh, it was like literally a split second of our conversation. But in reality, like, I need to know, like, that is a boss move. Like, there's a lot of things that go into saying, oh, I'm going to open up a studio. And I'm sure that you probably went through, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to get the money? And will I make money? And you didn't have a business plan. But I love how you just said, put the key in the ignition and just go.
And
I think that says a lot for just foraging ahead and manifesting success for yourself, because I can only imagine how difficult that is. And bosses out there, I mean, as entrepreneurs, this is something that you really need to do when it comes time to taking that leap of faith and going for it and making this a business that you can support yourself with. I mean, and make money. I mean, it's the reason why we create businesses is so that we can make money. And that's just such an important factor. So this is the same studio right now that you're working out of, the one that you've opened?
This is another one we've moved
Okay.
since. And of course, COVID had changed everything for everyone.
Yeah.
So, everyone has home studios now. Everyone has condensed down. Everyone has compressed. We are just getting back to live in studio again and traveling. We just came back from a showcase that we produce, our company produces in New York City, and then a week-long competitive convention that we are a part of. So we're just literally now getting back to physically getting on a train, going to New York, going back into studios. And that's also part of our mainstay, is to connect voice talent to people live if possible in an industry. Yeah.
So let's talk about the pandemic, because as a studio, how did you survive during the pandemic? I mean, you've got to pivot. So not only are you just opening brick and mortar studios, which have become, with the progression of home studios being something that everybody's got, that's a tough biz anyway, right? So, and then the pandemic, which pretty much just cut off all in-person, in-studio gigs. How did you survive and how did you pivot during that time?
Yeah, so I'll take you to a moment, because you know how it is about life, Anne. There's so much you can talk about, but you got to get down to the nugget of what you really want to say. There was a moment for me in COVID, and to get back to your comments about the putting the key in the door, how does it feel? The terror that you have inside of you, the fear of failure, the how do I make the rental? This is all internal life that I had inside of me, as many bosses have inside of them, of saying, I have to feel the fear, and then I have to do it anyway. So if I feel the fear, I acknowledge it, I affirm it, it's natural, now I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to take that calculated risk. So to answer your question, there was a moment in COVID where I thought, okay, all production has gone down for actors. Voiceover is still great, viable, and running. What do I fill now? Like, I'm a good problem solver. What's the need that we need right now? And at the time, I was sitting in Boston thinking, what does New England need? And it came to me, we needed a voiceover division. We have no voiceover divisions that run out of agencies in New England, like I know out of the major hubs. And I said, how do I create that? So I immediately started reaching out to agency friends and colleagues, because we work with everyone everywhere, and certainly in New England, we know the handful that are out there. And the bite that I got was a friend and colleague of mine, Tim Ayers, who's amazing and has run Model Club Inc. out of Boston for many years. He's owned it for about 10, 12 years, and it's been in existence for a good 30 years. A lot of us are repped by them in the New England market. And I reached out to him, and he just had that progressive moment of saying, listening to his Meshuggah crazy friend, Law, just spout on in the middle of COVID. And all he said was, yeah, do it. I don't know anything about voiceover, so you're going to have to do that. And I said, great. Not knowing anything about being an agent or becoming an agent. So I had done casting, I had done producing. I was an actor, certainly a voiceover talent, but I had never been an agent.
But you had all the knowledge and all of the industries surrounding it and the things that you would need to know to be a good agent, actually. So I think all of this had prepared you for the moment to become an agent.
Right. But going back to your question earlier, which was brilliant, is you're in that moment and you feel excited. And then when you realize the reality, you go, ooh, that's a little scary. That's a little terrifying. Now I have to know stuff. Now I have to now I have to lead.
Not just a little terrifying. It's pretty much terrifying.
It's terrifying. And then when I felt it, I knew I was on the right track, because that was the challenge. That
when you're scared.
Yeah, you need to jump out of the plane. You need to jump off the cliff. You really do. And I always think to myself, and I pass this on to clients and talent, I say, what's the worst that's going to happen, really? I wasn't sinking a lot of capital or a lot of money into that. No one really knew I was doing it. I said, the worst is it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Right.
And that's okay. I will learn a lot from the not working if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. It's a learning opportunity.
It is. It really is. I think everything is, to be honest with you. And I think once we make mistakes and once we do the wrong thing, we learn even more oftentimes than when we do the right thing.
So then you developed your voiceover division. And that is now running strong. And now you're starting to come back in studio as well.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes, though, the agency, of course, is mostly online nowadays. Tim works online, I work online. Very rarely are we seeing actors or voice talent in person. It's just not necessary. It's expensive to do that. It's time consuming. And so we had to learn how to be a hybrid business model. We had to learn that.
Sure. Now, what sorts of things are you doing in studio these days?
Well, we have a handful of folks that come to us. And the interesting part about it, Anne, is we have a really unique model. Our model now runs as the studio, which is Lau Lapides Company. That's our training production base. That's totally separate than the agency. The agency is under Tim. He's the owner-operator. I'm his lead agent that launched the voiceover division, MCVO. And they run parallel to each other. And it's fascinating. It's really interesting to see where are the crossovers and where's the distinctive separation. Because in essence, I'm for lack of a better term, a hired consultant to launch a division. But yet we're the ones who know how to run it. We're the ones who know the world. We're the ones who are bringing in all of the talent in the roster. So it's a very interesting kind of parallel that we walk. The people that we see in person, mainly coaching, mainly studio clients that will come in. Maybe they'll need to do a recording or they'll need a coaching session or they just want to come in and talk about their career. And there's always a group of people that are geographically local enough to do that and want to have that in-person experience. Then everyone else is online.
Yeah, technology is a beautiful thing, but also in person is something I think through that pandemic. I mean, people were just desperate to get out for face-to-face and in-person meetings, sessions. And I think that hybrid is really a wonderful thing. I remember myself when I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. It's funny because you said you wanted to be a leader. And I missed teaching. I missed leading a group. And that's what created my desire to start the VO Peeps. And that was a group that I wanted to lead and bring educational initiatives to. And it's just something that was wonderful at the time. And because I started in Southern California, there was only a certain amount of people that I could reach out to locally. And because I had such a background in technology, I was one of the first meetup groups to both stream meetings personally as well as onto the internet. So I had a very hybrid group. And so I could actually at that point become a global networking group. And that became something that I did a long time ago, back in 2010, I started to do that. At the time, not many people were doing it. And so it became a really wonderful way to just reach out to a much broader audience. So you have such a wonderfully wide audience. So even though you're located on the East Coast, you have a widespread reach that is global, which is something that as voice talent today, it's something that we need to address and understand the market in that way. Because, gosh, when I started doing voiceover, a home studio wasn't even a thought. It was a luxury. Some people, they dabbled in it. And other than that, you used to have to go to the studio and audition and do the jobs. And getting the work was before pay-to-plays. And really, the agent was the person who served you. Let's get a little bit more in-depth with, let's say, the casting process. I feel like if you had to sum up, like, what one thing do you do the most of right now? Or is it all things? Is it casting? Is it performance? Is it managing? What is it that you do that consumes your day? Or what's a day like for Lau?
I would say managing. You brought it up. That's the word, managing. And management, as you know, Anne, is hard. It's challenging. It's about how you deal with temperament, balance, time, energy, it's all those things. How do you have longevity to keep going? How do you maintain stamina? How do you hold grace and not lose your patience? There's so much that goes into an education about how do you run a business? How do you manage people? How do you manage yourself? How do you keep yourself in line? I always joke with my people. I say, really, honestly, I work for the hardest boss I've ever worked for.
Yourself.
She's tough. And that's me.
Get that. Yeah, I
That's
get
me.
that.
I can stand outside and be honest about that and say, wow, she's a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I have to be really tough, and sometimes I
Yeah.
have to be really strong, and sometimes I have to be really vulnerable and empathize with situations that I myself may or may not, or I myself may or may not think is a big deal. So I think the management factor of making an eclectic, diverse program run along with a
Mm-hmm.
agency division is a lot of the circus plates in the air.
Sure.
It's really a lot of that. And I realize I'm going to drop plates at times. I realize I'm going to set myself on fire at times. And I always have some sort of extinguisher waiting. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get burned. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're coaching all the time. We are working on jobs and gigs all the time. This was a great week for us. We hooked a lot of our agency MCVOs up with some great gigs this week. 3 big jobs we landed this week. So it's a lot of balancing act, and it's a lot about getting to people quickly, right? People want responses, being responsive quickly.
I have to completely agree with that. And as a manager, right, as a boss, we expect those things of ourselves, of people we're dealing with. And I want to kind of just bring what you've said in perspective for, let's say, people just coming into the industry. You may not have people to manage yet, but you absolutely have to manage yourself. And also part of the growing and part of growth, even as a small business entrepreneur, you don't have to open up a studio to be managing things and managing people, because I've talked about this on previous episodes, and I'm sure Lau and I will talk about this as outsourcing. You will have to manage people, manage your business, and to do so successfully requires some skills that you can learn as you go. I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing. Once you become an entrepreneur and you're not necessarily, I worked in corporate for many years, and I worked in education, which is another form of working for someone else. When it comes time to working for yourself, you're probably the hardest boss. And that includes not just the aspects of the business, but you're also hard on yourself personally, because what you're selling is part of a brand of yourself. You are a personal brand. And so not only is it doubly hard, I think, because you don't have a physical product necessarily to offset. Right now, if you're hard on someone, you're also hard on yourself, because now you're going to be hard on your product, which is your voice and your performance. And it's a very personal thing, which makes, I think, being an entrepreneur in our industry very difficult. You have to try to separate yourself so that you're not affecting your product by being hard on your performance or hard on your growth or lack of growth.
That is beautiful, Anne. Just perfect. And you have to play paradoxes every single day of your life. You have to play these opposites, which feel really weird and uncomfortable. Like on one hand, you have to be super hard on yourself so that you can perform, you can produce, and you can do it in a timely manner. And then on the other hand, you have to go easy on yourself. You have to forgive yourself. You have to not hold yourself to standards that are insanely ridiculous. You know what I mean? And you have to treat yourself as a human being, because if you beat yourself up too much, you're just not going to last long. You're not going to have the esteem and the confidence to really last long in the industry. So you have to play these kind of opposites, this antithetical effect all the time, and go back and forth from it and kind of say, hey, I need to do this. I need to get this done. It's important. But hey, wait a second. Where's the flexibility in it? How can I do it again better? What did I learn from it? And really kind of fluidly go back and forth from that mindset.
Right. And it's not something, as we both mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, it's not something that happens a few times, like a day or a week. I mean, we're talking to really be successful in this industry. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Our overnight success took 12 years or 40 years, whatever that is. That is continue. And I don't know if the fear factor for me got easier or I just dealt with it better. Because if I'm not doing something every day that scares me, then I'm not growing. And if I'm stagnating, that is the death of me. That is where I felt I was when I worked in the corporate world. I felt like I just wasn't growing. And that is something to me and my psyche and my development is really important.
It's super important. I love that quote too. That's, I think, a famous Eleanor Roosevelt quote is, do something every day that scares you, and never, 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 never give up. So there's that element of, I need to be afraid, but not so terrified that I'm paralyzed. I like to say now analysis can be paralysis.
Yep.
Like, don't overthink it too much. Don't overanalyze it too much, because you can find a reason why not to do things all the time.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's
Right?
ways. I'm a good procrastinator on certain things.
I think most people are.
Those are the things I want to outsource. I want to outsource those things.
Yeah. But what you said earlier, which was so true, is like the delegation effect, learning how to delegate, learning how to
let go, control.
Yes,
That's me. I'm a control freak. Did you notice that about me yet?
Listen, you and I are going to start that club because I am a self-professed control freak too. And part of that is a beautiful gift, because you want to have that sense of like, I can fully 100% manage what's going on. But we have to know that, at the end of the day, we don't really have control over anything. It's like an illusion.
You're right. And I'm learning as I grow that it's impossible for me to grow without delegating and letting go control, because I'm only one person with only so many hours in a day. And so I cannot grow my business without letting go of some of that control and trusting. And then it becomes a whole nother lesson, I think, in growing your business, is trusting your team and getting people on board with you that believe in you, believe in your process, believe in the company, and that you have a mutual respect for each other. And I always say that, I treat my employees like gold, because they really are gold to me. And I make sure they're paid well. I make sure all those things that scare me and say, oh my God, can I afford to do this? Do I have a budget? I make the budget, right? And so again, you have to throw out a lot of faith that things will come to you if you put it out there, and that you are putting your faith in your employees and they have a sense of loyalty and pride and want to work with you for success of the company. And that's a really hard thing if you're not used to doing that, if you've worked for someone else for all your life. And that's a scary thing.
And it's a skill. You're right. It's a soft skill, but ironically, it's a hard skill. It really is. And you need to cultivate it to some degree, because you want to have your team, your village, your tribe, whatever you call them. No person is an island. I'm telling you, I could not build the studio myself. I had my family, my husband, my own children who now work in the business with me. I mean, it's immense, the help and assistance that you need as you grow. And just like identifying, you have to be able to identify who are my people that are really great and they're supportive and they're helpful, and then who are the people who are the growth people. Those are the people who can really help you grow and level up in your business to the next tier. And really not mixing up. Not mixing up the two, because they're very different people, equally valuable and equally loved. I'll use that word, love. I think you need to love people.
And I agree. And of course, even harder, I think, is if the people are not necessarily a fit for you. And in letting go and in making that decision, there's that whole boss employee kind of relationship. Are they friends as well? And there's a lot of delicate things in there, which, oh gosh, we could spend a whole nother podcast probably talking about that.
We could spend forever talking about that.
And actually, I think we will. But I'm going to say for today, Lau, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful privilege to have you coming on the show. I'm excited for our future episodes of Boss Superpowers, Business Superpowers. And so thank you so much for your wisdom today and telling us a little bit about yourself. And bosses out there, I want you to know that as individuals, sometimes it can seem difficult to make a huge impact. But as a group, you can help contribute to the growth of our communities in ways that you never thought possible. And you can visit 100voiceswhocare.org to learn how. Also, a great big shout out to my sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses. Find out more at ipdtl.com. You guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much, Lau. Bye.
Thank you, Anne. Loved it.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your host, Ann Ganguza. And take your business to the next level. Sign up for our mailing list at voboss.com and receive exclusive content, industry revolutionizing tips and strategies, and new ways to rock your business like a boss. Redistribution with permission, coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.